عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما. Welcome to Al Huda Islamic Center. I'm your host Ustada Lubaba. As you know that in previous lecture we discussed about the introduction and importance of Nurani Qaida. Hope so you covered it properly. Now heading towards the next lecture, which is the first lesson of Nurani Qaida. The first lesson of Nurani Qaida is the basic Arabic alphabets. As you know that to read and understand any language fluently, we have to know about recognition and pronunciation of every letter of the language. You have to know this thing that there are three important things to read any language. Which are they? The first one is the shape of the alphabet. Because you know that you can get recognition of alphabet by knowing its shape properly. The second thing is the sound of the alphabet. How you are going to pronounce an alphabet, because our purpose, our aim is to read Arabic language fluently, and that can be done by exact sound of the letter. The third most important thing is point of emission. What is point of emission? What is point of emission? Point of emission is basically the part from where you are going to pronounce each letter, and each letter has its own point of emission. You know this thing that when we communicate, then our mouth, lips, throat, this whole area is included in communication, the vocals, okay? And we have to know the point of emission of each Arabic alphabet so that we can pronounce it properly according to its point of emission. Now heading towards the first alphabet, as you can see over the screen, which is the letter Alif. To know the shape of the alif, to recognize it, you should know this thing that alif looks like a tall building, just like the straight finger, okay? So it has a very basic shape with a tall building. Now what is sound of the letter alif? Sound of letter alif, let us relate it a little bit with English alphabets. So its sound is a sound, a sound. From where you are going to pronounce alif? So you have to pronounce alif from deepest part of throat. That's basically the point of emission of the letter alif. Now you have to repeat after me to practice it. Alif, alif, alif. So that was the detail about the letter alif. Now let us go towards the next letter. As you can see over the screen, the next letter has the shape, the boat-like shape with one dot below it. Okay, the boat-like shape with one dot below it. So with this shape, you are going to recognize the letter, this letter named Ba. The sound of Ba. So Ba has the B-like sound. Okay, the B-like sound, B, B. And how you are going to pronounce it? What is point of emission of Ba? So Ba's point of emission consists of lips, both lips. The way is you have to join the both lips together, join your lips together, then release them for the sound of Ba. Say it after me. Join them together. You have to repeat after me for practicing. Say it after me. Ba, Ba, Ba. Yes, that's what the sound of the letter Ba. So the next letter exactly looks like the letter Ba, the previous one, with a little bit of the changing. The Ba had one dot below it, but the next one has two dots and above it rather than below. Okay, so this is basically the letter Ta. Okay, now what is sound of the letter Ta? So letter Ta has the T-like sound but softer than that. Okay, mention this thing. Like T in top but softer, the, okay. What is point of emission of the letter ta. So you have to touch your tongue with the upper frontal tooth. Touch your tongue with the upper frontal tooth. You can see the screen to get the guide that exactly what is the part from where you have to pronounce the letter ta. Okay, you have to repeat after me now for practice. Ta, ta, ta. That's it. Now the next letter to ta, you can see now ba, ta and ta. These three are the family, okay? You can see they have the same shape with a little bit of the difference, okay? Now this letter has three dots above the letter. Three dots above the letter. Sound of ta is basically like the letter think without voice. It's voiceless. Remember this thing, okay? And the point of emission of ta is tongue between the two teeth. Tongue between the upper and the lower teeth. Okay, you have to press your tongue between upper and lower teeth as mentioned above in the screen. Okay, and then you have to pronounce this letter the. Look at the screen, get the idea and do as directed and repeat after me. The, the, the. Yes, that's the sound of the letter the. Now the next letter, we have done the family of ba, ta and tha. Now the next one is different from the previous three. This letter has a round-like shape with the curved head and dot in it. Okay, you have to mention this shape. Now sound of this letter is like J in judge, J sound. What is point of emission of this letter? Remember this thing that your tongue has three parts, okay, and one of it is the middle part of tongue. Just like that, remember this thing that your mouth cavity has a roof. Okay, the roof, this is your mouth and this is your roof of the mouth. Okay, now roof of the mouth is said to be hard palate. It's hard palate. Now hard palate also starts from back of the mouth throat till end. So it has also the middle part. So the point of emission of G is the middle part of tongue touching the middle of hard palate. Okay, mention over there, you can get the idea that what part of tongue you have to touch with which part of the hard palate. Now you have to repeat after me for the letter G. G, G, G. That's the detail about the letter G. Now going towards the next letter. It is also from the family of Jim, having the same shape as Jim but without any dot. So the name of this letter is Ha. To get its sound, let's imagine you have eaten a spicy thing and now you're breathing out to feel cool. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, that's the sound of Ha. The point of emission of Ha, remember this thing that some of the letters we have to pronounce from our throat. Okay, but each letter has different part of throat. So you have to pronounce ha from middle part of throat. You will not go down, okay, as we have done with alif, the deepest part. You have to say it with the middle part of throat having a very soft and light sound. Okay, now you have to repeat after me the letter ha, ha, ha. That's the sound of the letter ha. Now going towards the next letter. It is also from the family of Jim and Ha, having the same shape as Jim and Ha, but one difference, Jim had one dot in its round shape, Ha didn't have any dot, and this one, the third one, is Ha, which has one dot above it. Okay, so this is the shape of the letter Ha. The sound of ha is basically, you can imagine, it's a coughing sound. You can also pretend to cough to get the idea that from where you are going to pronounce this letter. Okay. Now point of emission of ha is top throat. Point of emission of ha is top throat. Okay, the top part of the throat from where basically you cough. Okay, now basically that was the detail about the letter ha. Now you have to repeat after me to do practice. Ha, ha, Kha. That was the detail about the letter Kha. Now heading towards the next letter, which is Dal. Okay, you can see that shape of Dal is a curve. It a curve, a little bit curve from bottom, like shape, curve like shape. Okay, and without any dot. Mention this thing. It has no dot. Okay. Now the pronunciation, the sound of the letter Dal is a D-like sound, but softer than that. Okay, the now what is point of emission of the letter Dal? Okay, so to pronounce Dal you have to touch your tongue with the upper tooth. Okay, its point of emission is similar like ta, but in this one you have to pronounce a little bit harder sound than ta, the dal. Okay, you can also see exact point from where you have to say dal. You have to just do as directed and repeat after me. Dal, dal, dal. Perfect. That was basically the detail about the letter dal. Now heading towards the next letter, which is from the family of dal, but you can see it has one dot above it. One dot above it, exactly the same shape as dal, but with one dot. Okay, so when we will put one dot above the shape of dal, then it will be a new letter named dal. Named dal. What's the sound of dal? Basically a little buzz sound, a little buzz sound with Z like sound, but the buzz in dal is not like the common buzz. Okay, so now what is the point of emission of the letter dal? So point of emission of the letter dal is between the two teeth, the tongue between the two teeth. Okay, but remember this thing that you will not make a vibration in it. Okay, dal. Okay, now look at it to get the idea and do as directed. Repeat after me. Dal, dal, dal. That was the sound of the letter dal. Now the next letter we have done with the family of dal. Now the next letter is a curved shape. You can see that its curve is more than dal. Okay. Now the name of this letter having a curved shape is ra. The name of the letter is ra. Okay, how you are going to pronounce raw and what is sound of the raw? Raw has R like sound. Okay, raw, and you have to touch your tongue with the upper base of your tooth. Remember this thing that our tooth are joined with a space, the hard palate, and it is the base of the tooth. Okay, so you have to join your tongue with the upper base of the tooth, not with the exact tooth. Okay, so basically that's the point of emission of the letter raw. Now you have to repeat after me by doing as directed on the screen. Raw, raw, raw. Perfect. Now the next letter is again from the family of raw. You can see the shape is exactly like raw, but with one dot above it. But with one dot above it. So when we'll put one dot above raw, then that will be the letter Z. Z. Okay, it has exact buzzing like sound. Buzz. Okay, so now what is point of emission of the letter Z? Z point of emission is you have to press your both your upper and the lower teeth together, okay, with the tongue at the end of it, okay, and then you have to say Z, Z, Z. Okay, now you have to do as directed and repeat after me. Z, Z, Z. So this is basically the sound of the letter Z. Now the next letter done with the family of raw. You can see this letter has a round shape, a round bowl-like shape with two spikes on the top, head of two spikes, without any dot. Mention this thing. It has no dot. Okay, so this letter is named as Seal. This letter is named as Seal. What is the sound of seen basically? It has a whistling like sound, just like this. Okay, now what is point of emission of seen? You have to take your tongue close to the lower teeth. So this is the point of emission of seen as mentioned on the screen. Okay, now you have to do as directed and repeat after me. Seen, seen, seen. That was the sound of the letter seen. Now going towards the next alphabet, you can see it's the family of seen, having the same shape as seen but having 3 dots above it. There's a difference between seen and sheen. Seen without any dot, and sheen having 3 dots above it. Okay. Now the sound of sheen is sh sheen in English alphabet, sh, sh, sh. Okay. And what is point of emission from where you are going to pronounce? The letter sheen. Basically, the point of emission of the letter sheen is mid of the tongue with mid of the hard palate, like G. Okay, so this is the point of emission of sheen. Do as directed, pointed over the screen, and repeat after me. Sheen, sheen, sheen. That is the point of emission, the letter sheen. Now going towards the next letter, which is the letter you can see on the screen. It has a semicircle shape. Of a round bowl with a small tail on the left. Okay, this is the shape and the name is sword. Okay, now sound of sword is basically just like the whistling sound as in seen, but it is more deeper and stronger than the letter C. Okay, now what is point of emission of the letter sword? So point of emission of the letter sword is your tongue touching the upper roof, the hard palate of your mouth. But remember this thing, the sword has a deeper and stronger sound. Okay, now looking at it with focus and doing as directed on the screen, you have to repeat after me. Sword, sword, sword. That was the detail about the letter sword. Now the next letter to sword is from the family of sword. It has exactly the same shape as sword but with 1 dot above it. The name of this letter is bod. Okay, and sound of bod doesn't resemble with anyone in English alphabet, but we can say that it has a little bit D-like sound but deeper than it. If we talk about the point of emission, then this letter has 2 point of emissions and it's allowed to read any one of it. But the easiest one is basically to touch your side of tongue with upper molar. You can see it's mentioned over there, and you can see the part which is green is to touch with the upper part. Okay, it's highlighted with green color. So you have to do as it. And it's also allowed for the second point of emission. It's also allowed for the second point of emission to touch the both sides of tongue with upper molars. But that's maybe quite difficult. So you can go for the first one. That will be easy for the beginners. Okay. Now look at it and do as directed and repeat after me. Word, word, word. That was the point of emission of the letter word. Now in this lecture we have discussed from alif till word. Okay, and we'll cover the remaining in the next lecture. You have to repeat after me for revision. I have shared over there the first page, the first lesson of Nurani Qaida, from where you are going to read it inshallah. Repeat after me for practice. Alif, ba, ta, sa, jim, ha, kha, dal. ذال را ذا سين شين صاد ضاد. That's it. Inshallah, now we'll meet again with another lecture of the remaining alphabets of Arabic. Now do practice them again and again, because you know this thing that practice makes man perfect. Meet you again in the next lecture, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.